You are the one then that shows that forth to your student or to the tape recorder student, so that in time they become your student, your patient and your student, because no one has a right to come to you for 6 or 8 weeks indicating a real interest in the message without your beginning to teach them meditation. How you teach it is something that's decided within yourself, but you have to bring it to their attention. You have to point out all of the chapters in the writings of the books on meditation, the importance of meditation, the why and the wherefore of meditation. First of all, you have to know it yourself. Then you have to be able to show them the why and the wherefore and how to find it in the writings. And then you have to follow up to be sure they're practicing it. And then eventually you're going to have to meditate with them so as to give them the experience of meditation. Now, why is meditation the important thing in our lives? It is because that every individual on the face of the globe is endowed with a faculty that is unknown to the human world. It is, this won't describe it, it is a spiritual faculty. It is above the faculty of the intellect. It's even above the faculty of intuition. Intuition is only one facet of the higher faculty. In the infinite way, I have referred to it as soul faculties. Faculties of the soul. Now, your intelligence, your intellect, your knowledge is really, these are products of the faculty of mind. But beyond that, there is a faculty of the soul, which operates intuitively and through intuition. But intuition is only one of its little facets. Actually, the faculty of the soul is that faculty that maintains the eternality, immortality, and harmony of our being. It isn't what we know with the mind that does that. Otherwise, we could give these books to the college professors and they'd all be the top scholars because they have the faculty of learning. It isn't the faculty of mind that redeems us either from sin, from lack, from warring with each other, conflicts with each other, envies, hates, jealousies, malice, lust. It isn't the mind that does that for us. If anything, the mind is apt to get us more deeply into it. But each of us has a soul faculty which absolutely lifts us above desire through establishing us in the sense of is. That is, it establishes us in the realization that God is flowing. God is being. God is supporting, supplying, enriching, enlightening, so forth and so on. When you're in that and you realize that your whole needs, mentally, morally, physically, financially, are all being met from within you by an inner grace, your whole attention is withdrawn from this world. You can love everybody and everybody can love you freely. There's nothing you want of them and there's nothing, if they understand it, that they can possibly want from you because they have the same access to the same source, which is their own soul. Their own soul. Our own soul, your soul, is the source of your infinity, the source of your eternality, your immortality. It's the source, really, of the intellect that keeps you functioning. It's the source of the intellect that you use in your business or your art or your profession. But behind all of the intellect and behind all of the physical capacities is the soul. Now, the human race hasn't access to that soul. We only attain access to it through inner communion. At first, as you all know, that's a very difficult procedure. And sometimes it appears as if it's going to be an impossible one. But persistence is the only thing that will bring it through. That and the being fortunate enough to having someone around you who is going a step beyond you in it and can meditate with you. Then they who have been lifted up a step higher than you can lift you to them. That is why you can tell the difference as to who sits up here conducting meditation. You can always tell that. You can tell the very depth and degree of their unfoldment by what happens to you. That's easy. And so it is. Every time someone sits in meditation with you, they must get an answering response if you yourself have touched your inner wellspring of life, the Master called it. That inner wellspring out of which the waters of life spring up. You don't need a bucket to go after it. It just springs up from within you, and really it's life everlasting to those who can receive it from those who have it. Now then, you who have gone this far must have had some measure of it, attained some degree or an occasional degree of a response from that within. Well, then just keep practicing until it becomes a permanent demonstration, until you can turn within at will. And eventually, to where you don't have to turn within at all. It's a permanent dispensation. Meditation isn't a permanent need. Meditation is only a need until one has so contacted the soul faculties that they're in perpetual operation. Now, I don't know anyone, or I've never read of anyone, who has gotten to the place where they can entirely eliminate meditation. The Master, we're told, went away for periods of 40 days. And I think we're pretty certain what he did when he was away those 40 days. He communed with the Father. That is, he meditated. He went within. He reached that soul place within himself. He reached that area of his consciousness which isn't human, doesn't live by bread alone, and doesn't reason things out, but receives spiritual wisdom, receives wisdom spiritually, even what we call human wisdom. It even receives the knowledge of inventions to be discovered, or new laws to be found, or new worlds to be conquered. It is the source of everything divine, everything permanent, everything eternal abides within our soul, and we don't have to go outside of our soul to find it. If the knowledge is in a book, by going into our soul, it'll show us the book and practically bring it to us to be read. We won't even have to go to a bookstore looking for it. It will turn up in our mail or a gift or at the public library. In other words, we don't have to consciously do anything except follow its lead. But in our early stages, and I don't have to tell you how early my stage is, I have to meditate 20, 30, and 40 times a day. So you know that I'm just at the beginning of the road. And I have to meditate, and how many of you have been with me and known that I've all of a sudden stopped whatever we're saying, come on, let's meditate. I don't mind what's being said, and I don't mind stopping it at any period, at any interval. When I feel like going within, I just go within, because that's my life, not bread. not wine, not water. That inner thing is my life. It's the source out of which came these books. These books didn't come out of school teaching or book learning. They came out of that inner source. And the fact that they're being published internationally didn't come out of full influence or capital. It came out of that same soul source. And the fact that you are here and that in other cities you've seen the people who have been there, you know right well they weren't sent for or advertised for. No human means was used to bring them, not even an invitation. Just the announcement that was to be, and here you come from all corners of the globe. Why? It is that inner faculty that does it. If it is in action, it has something for you. If it has something for it, you, way off on the other end of the country, know it, and it draws you there. Don't you see that? Humans can't do that. You wouldn't chase around this country after any human being that ever was. You are being drawn by an inner light that is within yourself, and it is drawing you to the light that can light the light that is within yourself. That's all that takes place. Now, those who are drawn to you have a light within themselves, faintly visible at the present time, but that light is drawing them to a greater degree of the light which is already awakened in you. And the reason they're coming to you is that your greater light pour into them still greater light. And that's the way it works. It isn't what you know that does it, although when they ask questions you better know it and be able to answer it. Because that is a, shall we call it a bridge? People always want questions answered in the beginning. If you notice our classwork, you rarely see one of the students who've been through many classes ask any questions. They know by then that even getting an answer to questions doesn't solve their problem. So all they want is not to have questions answered. They just want to sit in the light and the peace and the quiet and the comfort. By that time, we're through with words and thoughts, and we all know that nothing is going to bring us into our spiritual heritage but sharing the light with each other. And the first thing, the most essential thing for students who are meeting in these groups is to be sure that they really know what's in the writings. They really know what's in the tapes they're presenting, so that they're prepared to answer questions. Secondly, that they realize the function, the purpose. Second, that they know the two major essentials of this teaching, the nature of God and the nature of error. If you don't know that, and if you don't know it so thoroughly that you're living with it 23 hours out of 24, then you're really not getting anywhere in this message. You see, the message isn't really as difficult as it seems when you read 20 books, because all those 20 books are trying to tell you is what the nature of God is and what the nature of the error is that you're dealing with. Those are the two main essentials of all those books. There are other things in it that are wonderful to know, but the two main essentials for us is what is the nature of God, because if you really know God aright, you gain life eternal. Once you've learned God to such a degree that you can stop praying to it, asking anything of it, expecting anything of it, you're beginning to understand God aright, and then God can function in you. Then after you are sure enough of those 2 points, you'll find that automatically you're doing healing work. Because every time an error presents itself to you, some thought comes to you either of the nature of God or the nature of error. And that's the healing agency. That thought that comes to you as to the nature of God, or the minute you can laugh and say, no, God couldn't be guilty of such a thing as that, you've known the nature of God and you have a healing. Or on the other hand, if you weren't thinking of the nature of God, if you turned and said, why, error can't do that because it's nothing but an illusion, that would be the healing agency. That's inner conviction. Error can't do that. It's the arm of flesh and nothingness. Those are your 2 points. Then, after that, to so practice meditation that when your student says, but I can't meditate, all he does is talk about meditation and I can't do it, then you've got to be prepared to say, well, let's meditate together. Oh, then pretty soon the student says, oh, that was fine. I could do that very easily. But then they'll come back and say, but I couldn't do it when I got home alone. No, that's right. You come back and we'll do it over again. And if you do it over often enough with your students, you lift them to where they are in that consciousness and they can do it alone. Then after that, they don't need you for meditation, although they will always enjoy meditation with you, because where 2 or more are in the depth of that consciousness, it's really a whole new world that opens up. And so, I love to meditate with some of our students. I know the depth of them. And there are some of our students that love to meditate with me as often as they can. But I don't need them and they don't need me. They have already attained sufficient depth so that they can go within themselves. And that's where all of us must eventually come to where we don't need the teacher, we don't even need the books or the recordings, because now we have access to our own soul, and that's our source. That's the object of the message of the Infinite Way, to reveal that the soul of man is his God, his Christ, his Savior, his support, his maintenance, his integrity, his life, truth, and love. The soul of man is the Savior of the world. That's why also we can't have an organization, because I don't dare tell anybody that you need the Infinite Way. I can't say that. You don't need the Infinite Way. You need a contact with your soul. The Infinite Way exists to help you attain it. When you've attained it, you need nothing. You have it all. You have access to your own soul, and that soul is God.